The forest floor, damp and fragrant with pine needles, offered little comfort against the gnawing chill that had settled deep within Alara's bones. Every rustle of leaves, every snap of a twig, sent a fresh wave of terror through her, tightening the invisible chains around her heart. Hope, a fragile, flickering flame, had long since dwindled to a few desperate embers, threatening to extinguish entirely under the relentless pursuit. She was a hunted thing, her existence a constant flight, her only crime being born different, marked by a lineage that others deemed an abomination. They called her a witch, a curse, their fear a palpable entity that had shaped her entire life into a tapestry of shadows and whispered threats. To survive, she had learned to become a whisper herself, a ghost flitting through the periphery of their world, always just out of reach, always just shy of capture. But tonight, the hunters were closer than ever, their baying hounds a chilling symphony of impending doom. Each breath was a gasp, each step a prayer, her muscles screaming in protest, yet she pushed on, driven by an instinct far older and more primal than fear, the will to live. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic bird trapped within a cage, its frantic beat echoing the rhythm of her desperate flight. She stumbled, catching herself on the rough bark of an ancient oak, its gnarled branches reaching like skeletal fingers towards a sky devoid of stars. The air tasted of iron and impending storm, a fitting backdrop to the storm raging within her. A primal roar, deep and guttural, ripped through the night, not from the hunters, but from something far more ancient, far more terrifying. The forest, which had been her sanctuary, suddenly felt like a trap. The ground vibrated with an immense power, an energy that hummed beneath her feet, raising the fine hairs on her arms. She pressed herself against the tree, trying to meld with its rough surface to become invisible. The hunters' shouts grew louder, their torches a flickering orange glow in the distance, but they were no longer her primary concern. Something else was here, something that made the very air crackle with latent power. A massive shadow detached itself from the deeper darkness, moving with a fluid grace that belied its immense size. It was a wolf, but unlike any she had ever seen. Its fur was the color of midnight, its eyes glowing embers in the darkness, and it moved with an authority that spoke of untamed wilderness and raw power. This was no ordinary beast. This was a creature of myth, a true alpha, radiating an aura of dominance that made her knees tremble. He stopped, his gaze sweeping over the forest before settling on her, an intensity that pierced through her fear and saw straight into her soul. Her breath hitched. This was not a hunter. This was a king. His eyes, a startling amber, held hers captive, a silent communication passing between them that transcended words. In that gaze, she saw not judgment, but a strange, unsettling recognition. A low growl rumbled in his chest, a sound that was both warning and something else, something akin to curiosity. The hunters burst into the clearing, their faces contorted with rage and triumph, their hounds baying at the sight of her. But their joy was short-lived. The Alpha King shifted, a seamless, terrifying transformation. His form blurred, growing, muscles rippling under his dark fur until he stood on two legs, a man of immense stature, his skin tanned, hair black as a raven's wing, and those same amber eyes now burning with a fierce, protective fire. He was naked, unashamed, his raw power radiating outwards, silencing the hounds, freezing the hunters in their tracks. A gasp escaped Alara's lips. This was not just a wolf. He was a shifter, a creature of legend, and he was staring at her as if she were the only thing that mattered in the world. She is mine. His voice was a deep rumble resonating through the trees, a decree that brooked no argument. It was not a question, but a statement of absolute ownership, a claim that both terrified and thrilled her. The hunters, momentarily stunned, recovered their bravado, their leader stepping forward, an ugly sneer on his face. Yours? This witch is an abomination, a blight on our lands. She deserves to burn. The Alpha King's eyes narrowed, the amber glowing brighter, a dangerous glint in their depths. His stance was predatory, coiled power ready to unleash. Alara felt a strange sense of calm settle over her, a bizarre juxtaposition to the chaos unfolding around her. In his presence, the hunters seemed insignificant, their threats hollow. He was a force of nature, and she was, inexplicably, under his protection. The confrontation was swift and brutal. The Alpha King moved with a speed that defied human comprehension, a blur of dark muscle and raw power. He disarmed the first hunter with a flick of his wrist, sending the man sprawling. The others hesitated, their fear quickly overriding their hatred. He didn't kill them, not outright, but he made his point with chilling efficiency, breaking their weapons, tearing their clothes, and leaving them bruised and battered, their faces pale with terror. "Leave," he commanded, his voice a low snarl, "and never return. This territory is mine. She is mine. Cross me again, and you will not leave alive." The message was clear, undeniable. The hunters scrambled away, their bravado shattered, their hounds whimpering at their heels. The forest fell silent once more, save for the Alpha King's heavy breathing and the frantic pounding of Alara's heart. He turned back to her, his gaze softening slightly, the intensity still there, but now laced with something akin to curiosity, perhaps even tenderness. He was still in his human form, his powerful body radiating heat in the cool night air. Alara, still pressed against the tree, felt a flush creep up her neck. She had never been this close to a man, let alone one so undeniably dominant, so breathtakingly powerful. Her life had been one of constant avoidance, of hiding her true self, of fearing exposure. And now she was exposed, utterly, completely, to a creature who seemed to see not her flaws, but something else, something precious. "Who are you?" she managed to whisper, her voice raspy from disuse and fear. He took a step closer, his scent, a mix of pine, earth, and something uniquely masculine filling her senses. It was intoxicating, disorienting. "I am Kale," he replied, his voice a balm to her frayed nerves despite its inherent power. "Alpha of the Blackwood Pack. And you, little lost one, are on my lands." He extended a hand, large and calloused, yet surprisingly gentle as it reached for her. Alara hesitated, her instincts warring. All her life, she had been taught to fear touch, to avoid connection. But something in his eyes, a deep well of ancient wisdom and unwavering certainty, compelled her. She reached out, her fingers trembling as they brushed against his. His skin was warm, vibrant, and a jolt, like static electricity, passed between them. It was a connection, undeniable and profound, a spark that ignited a hidden part of her soul. She felt a strange sense of belonging, a feeling she had never known. He pulled her gently away from the tree, his touch firm but not forceful. "Come," he said, his gaze sweeping over her tattered clothes, her bruised arms. "You are hurt, and you are cold." He began to lead her deeper into the forest, away from the path the hunters had taken, towards the heart of his territory. Alara, for the first time in her life, didn't resist. She followed, a silent, trembling creature drawn by an irresistible force. The moonlight, now breaking through the clouds, cast long, dancing shadows around them, transforming the familiar forest into a mystical realm. She glanced at him, his profile stark and powerful against the night sky. He was a paradox, a fearsome protector, a king of the wilderness, yet he held her with a tenderness that made her heart ache. She was no longer just running. She was being led, guided by a hand that promised not only safety, but perhaps something more. The journey was a blur of exhaustion and disbelief. Kale led her through winding paths she hadn't known existed, his presence a warm, solid anchor in the swirling chaos of her mind. His scent, that intoxicating blend of forest and male strength, enveloped her, chasing away the lingering stench of fear and adrenaline. She stumbled once, her legs giving out, and he caught her with effortless grace, his arm wrapping around her waist, holding her steady. The contact was electric, a jolt that both startled and soothed her. His touch was firm, possessive, yet imbued with an underlying gentleness that spoke volumes. He didn't speak much, but his silence was not empty. It was filled with a watchful presence, a constant awareness of her. Eventually, they arrived at a hidden clearing, bathed in the soft glow of the moon. In the center stood a structure, not a typical house, but a dwelling carved into the side of a massive ancient tree, its entrance seamlessly blended with the natural contours of the wood. It was a place of magic, a sanctuary untouched by the harsh realities of the outside world. Smoke curled lazily from a stone chimney, carrying the scent of burning wood and something else. Something warm and inviting, like spiced herbs. "This is my home," Kale announced, his voice softer now, less commanding, more intimate. He pushed open a heavy wooden door, revealing an interior that was surprisingly cozy and welcoming. A roaring fire crackled in a stone hearth, casting dancing shadows across walls adorned with intricate carvings and animal pelts. The warmth enveloped Alara, chasing away the pervasive chill that had seeped into her bones. She stood just inside the doorway, hesitant, her eyes wide with wonder. She had never seen such a place, so steeped in nature, yet so clearly a home. Kale gestured towards a plush fur rug before the fire. "Sit. You need to rest." He moved with a quiet efficiency, fetching a bowl of steaming broth and a mug of what smelled like herbal tea. He pressed the warm mug into her hands, his fingers brushing hers again, sending that familiar jolt through her. The tea was sweet and earthy, warming her from the inside out. The broth was rich and nourishing, and she ate slowly, savoring each spoonful, the first real food she'd had in days. As she ate, she felt his gaze on her, a steady, unwavering presence. She looked up, meeting his amber eyes. There was a depth there, an ancient wisdom, and a tenderness that made her heart ache with a longing she hadn't known she possessed. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice still hoarse. He nodded, a small, almost imperceptible movement. "You are safe here, Alara," he said, using her name, a simple act that felt profoundly intimate. "No one will harm you." His words were a promise, a vow, and she believed him. For the first time in her life, she felt truly safe, truly protected. The weight of years of fear and flight began to lift, replaced by a fragile, nascent hope. He moved to a corner of the room, returning with a bundle of soft, clean clothes. "These might be a bit large, but they will be more comfortable than what you are wearing." He placed them beside her, his movements unhurried, respectful. Alara looked down at her tattered dress, stained with dirt and blood, a stark reminder of her recent ordeal. I can't," she stammered, embarrassment flushing her cheeks. "I don't have anything to give you in return." He knelt before her, his large frame somehow not intimidating but reassuring. His eyes held hers, a silent understanding passing between them. "You owe me nothing, Alara. Not for protection, not for shelter. You are here because I choose for you to be here." His words carried the weight of his alpha status, but they were delivered with a gentle sincerity that disarmed her completely. He rose and walked to a curtained alcove, pulling it back to reveal a small private washing area with a basin and a large pitcher of warm water. "Take your time. I will be outside." He left the room, leaving her alone with the warmth of the fire, the scent of herbs, and the overwhelming feeling of being cared for. It was a foreign sensation, one she had never experienced. She shed her dirty clothes, the fabric clinging to her bruised skin, and carefully washed herself, the warm water soothing her aching muscles. The clothes he had given her were indeed large, a soft tunic and trousers made of what felt like linen, but they were clean and comfortable. She wrapped herself in them, feeling a sense of renewal, a quiet dignity returning to her. When she emerged, Cale was sitting by the fire, sharpening a hunting knife with quiet precision. He looked up as she approached, his amber eyes assessing her, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Better?" he asked, his voice a low murmur. She nodded, feeling a blush creep up her neck again. The firelight danced across his powerful physique, highlighting the lean muscle beneath his tanned skin. He was a breathtaking sight, a creature of raw power and untamed beauty. "Much," she replied, her voice still soft. He gestured to a spot beside him on the fur rug. She sat, feeling the warmth of the fire on her face, the unfamiliar comfort of the clean clothes against her skin. "Tell me, Ilara," Kyle began, his voice deep, thoughtful. "What were you running from? Beyond the hunters, I mean. What is your story?" His question was direct, yet gentle, a genuine invitation to share. Ilara hesitated, her past a painful tapestry of rejection and fear. But looking into his eyes, she felt a strange compulsion to tell him, to lay bare the truths she had hidden for so long. "I am different," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "My mother was not like other women. She was connected to the earth, to the old ways. They called her a witch. And when she died, they came for me. They said I carried her curse, that I was an abomination." Kyle listened, his gaze unwavering, a silent intensity in his eyes. He didn't interrupt, didn't judge. He simply listened, a profound act of acceptance that Ilara had never known. "I have abilities," she continued, her voice gaining a little strength, a fragile confidence blooming under his attentive gaze. "I can heal. I can make things grow. I can feel the pulse of the earth, the whisper of the wind. They called it magic, dark magic. They hunted me for it." She looked down at her hands, her fingers tracing the intricate patterns on the fur rug. "I never hurt anyone. I only ever tried to help. But they saw only what they feared." "Fear makes monsters of men," Cale said, his voice low and resonant, a rumble that vibrated through the air. "They fear what they do not understand. They fear power that is not their own." Reached out, his large hand covering one of hers, his touch warm and firm. "Your abilities are not a curse, Ilara. They are a gift. A part of who you are." His words resonated deep within her, a truth she had always known but never dared to embrace. In his eyes she saw not condemnation, but admiration, a recognition of her unique essence. He saw her, truly saw her, for the first time in her life. His thumb stroked the back of her hand, a simple gesture that sent shivers through her. "You are safe here," he repeated, his voice a solemn vow. "And here, your gifts will be nurtured, not feared. Here, you will be free." Ilara looked into his eyes, a silent question in her own. Free? Could such a thing truly exist for her? Could she, a hunted outcast, find a haven, a home, with this powerful, enigmatic alpha? The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying. She had lived a life of constant vigilance, of perpetual flight. The idea of peace, of safety, was almost overwhelming. Kale seemed to sense her apprehension. He squeezed her hand gently. "It will take time to trust, I know, but I am patient. And I am true to my word." His gaze held hers, an unspoken promise hanging in the air between them. The fire crackled, casting long, dancing shadows that seemed to embrace them, drawing them closer into the intimate circle of its warmth. Outside, the forest was silent, the moonlight filtering through the leaves, creating a sense of profound peace. Alara felt a tear trace a path down her cheek, not of sorrow, but of a strange, overwhelming relief. She had been running from the hunters, but she had, perhaps, run straight into her destiny. Days bled into weeks, a gentle rhythm of healing and discovery. Alara found solace in the quiet solitude of Kale's home, a sanctuary nestled deep within the ancient forest. She spent her mornings exploring the surrounding woods, her senses awakening to the vibrant life that pulsed within Kale's territory. The trees here seemed to hum with an ancient energy, the streams sang clearer, and the air itself felt cleaner, purer. She discovered hidden glades where wildflowers bloomed in riotous color, their petals unfurling under her gentle touch. Her healing abilities, once a source of fear and persecution, began to flourish under the benevolent gaze of Kale. He encouraged her to use her gifts, to tend to injured animals, to coax stubborn seeds into life, to soothe the troubled earth. Kale was a constant, reassuring presence. He would often join her on her walks, his silent companionship a comforting anchor. He taught her about the forest, its hidden pathways, its ancient secrets. He showed her which herbs were medicinal, which berries were safe to eat, and how to read the signs of the wild. He was a patient teacher, his deep voice a soothing balm as he shared his vast knowledge. He spoke of the pack, his family, a community of shifters who lived in harmony with the land, unseen by human eyes. He explained their traditions, their reverence for nature, their fiercely protective instincts. He never pressured her to meet them, understanding her need for solitude, for a slow reintroduction to trust. Their evenings were spent by the fire, sharing stories, or simply existing in comfortable silence. Alara found herself slowly, tentatively, opening up to him. She spoke of her mother, of the fear and loneliness that had defined her life. Kale listened, his amber eyes reflecting the firelight, his presence a steady, unwavering support. He never dismissed her pain, never minimized her experiences. Instead, he validated them, his quiet empathy a powerful healing force. He, in turn, shared glimpses of his own life, the weight of his responsibilities as alpha, the solitude that came with leadership. He spoke of a past betrayal, a wound that still lingered, making him wary, protective. He moved from distance to vulnerability, revealing hidden truths while learning to trust after past betrayals and choosing love despite fear. One evening, as the moon cast its silvery glow through the window, Alara found the courage to ask, "Why me, Kyle? Why did you help me? Why do you protect me?" His gaze met hers, intense and direct. "Because you are good, Ilara. Because you are pure. Because your spirit shines even in the darkest of places." He reached for her hand, his thumb tracing the delicate lines on her palm. "And because—" he paused, his voice dropping to a near whisper, "I felt a connection to you, the moment I saw you. A pull, a recognition. You are destined." The word hung in the air, laden with meaning. Fated mates. The concept was both overwhelming and intoxicating. She had always felt different, an outcast. To be destined, to be chosen by a powerful Alpha King, was a revelation that shook her to her core. She looked at their joined hands, her small, delicate fingers intertwined with his strong, calloused ones. It felt right. Impossibly right. A warmth spread through her, a comforting heat that had nothing to do with the fire. It was the warmth of belonging, of being seen, truly seen, for who she was, not for what others feared. She had been running from rejection, from isolation. Now, in the heart of the forest, in the presence of this formidable man, she was finding acceptance and something more profound. Her heart, once a frantic bird in a cage, now beat with a steady, hopeful rhythm. The physical intimacy between them grew slowly, naturally, like the budding of a flower. It began with shared glances, lingering touches, the accidental brush of hands. Then, one night, as they sat by the fire, the silence between them charged with unspoken emotions, Cale reached out and gently cupped her face. His thumb stroked her cheekbone, a feather-light touch that sent shivers down her spine. His eyes, amber pools of warmth and longing, held hers captive. "Ilara," he whispered, his voice husky with emotion. He leaned in, and his lips, soft and warm, met hers. It was a kiss of profound tenderness, a slow, deliberate exploration that spoke of reverence and deep affection. Her response was immediate, instinctive. She melted into him, her hands finding their way to his broad shoulders, clinging to him as if he were her only anchor in a suddenly spinning world. The kiss deepened, becoming more passionate, more urgent, a silent conversation of longing and desire. It was not just a physical act, it was a communion of souls, a merging of two lonely spirits who had found their home in each other. His scent enveloped her, intoxicating her senses, making her dizzy with emotion. She felt a surge of pure joy, a feeling so intense it brought tears to her eyes. This was love, raw and undeniable, a force that transformed her, healed her, made her whole. Their love blossomed under the watchful eyes of the ancient forest. They spent their days exploring the territory, Cale in his wolf form, a magnificent creature of power and grace. Ilara riding on his back, her laughter echoing through the trees. She learned to communicate with him without words, a deep, intuitive connection that transcended language. She felt his thoughts, his emotions, his unwavering devotion. He, in turn, reveled in her joy, her growing confidence, the way her magic intertwined with his own, strengthening the very land they walked upon. Their bond grew not just through shared moments, but through the profound acceptance they offered each other. He saw her beauty, her strength, her gentle spirit, and she saw past his formidable exterior to the kind, protective heart of the Alpha King. However, their idyllic existence was not to last. The world outside their sanctuary was still filled with fear and hatred. One afternoon, while Ilara was tending to a patch of medicinal herbs near the edge of Cale's territory, she heard them. The familiar baying of hounds, the shouts of men, closer this time, more determined. Her blood ran cold. They had returned. The hunters. But how? Cale had driven them away, had warned them. A chilling realization struck her. They weren't just after her anymore. They were after Cale, after the Alpha King who had protected her, after the mythical creature they now knew existed. Her heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat of terror. She ran, her bare feet flying over the forest floor, her magic tingling under her skin, a desperate plea for help. Cale. She needed to warn Cale. She burst into the clearing where his home stood, her breath ragged, her eyes wide with fear. "Cale!" she cried, her voice a desperate sob. "They're back, the hunters. They know about you." He emerged from his home, his expression grave, already sensing the disturbance, his powerful senses picking up the scent of intruders. He shifted, his dark fur rippling as he transformed into his massive wolf form, his amber eyes blazing with a fierce, protective fury. He was magnificent, terrifying, a force of nature unleashed. "Stay here, Ilara," he commanded, his voice a low growl that vibrated through the earth. Hide. I will protect you. But Alara shook her head, a fierce determination hardening her features. No, I won't hide. Not anymore. I won't let them take you. Not after everything. Her magic surged, a protective aura blooming around her, a defiance she hadn't known she possessed. She was no longer the vulnerable outcast. She was a woman in love, fiercely loyal, ready to fight for her chosen family. He looked at her, a flicker of surprise, then a fierce pride in his eyes. He nodded, a silent acknowledgement of her strength, her courage. The hunters poured into the clearing, their numbers greater this time, their weapons glinting in the afternoon sun. Their leader, a grizzled, cruel-faced man, smirked. So, the witch and her beast, a perfect pair, ripe for the burning. Kyle let out a guttural roar, a challenge that echoed through the trees, making the very ground tremble. He lunged, a dark blur of fur and muscle tearing through their ranks. Alara, her heart pounding, stood her ground, her hands outstretched, her magic flowing. Vines erupted from the earth, ensnaring the hunters, their screams of surprise and fear filling the air. She conjured thorny bushes to block their path, her power a shield, a weapon, protecting the one she loved. The battle was a chaotic dance of raw power and desperate defense. Kale fought with a ferocity that was breathtaking, a whirlwind of teeth and claws, his movements fluid and deadly. He was a force of nature, an unstoppable guardian. Ilara, her magic a shimmering shield around them, wove spells of entanglement and confusion, disrupting the hunter's attacks, giving Kale the advantage. She felt a connection to the earth, a deep resonance with its ancient power, channeling it through her, transforming herself from a hunted thing into a formidable protector. She was no longer a witch to be feared, but a sorceress, a guardian, her magic a testament to her love. The hunters, overwhelmed by Kale's brute strength and Alara's unexpected magical prowess, began to falter. Their fear, once directed at Alara, now turned towards Kale, towards the combined might of the Alpha King and his magical mate. Their leader, seeing his forces decimated, snarled in frustration and rage. He aimed his crossbow at Alara, a poisoned bolt meant to end her life. Kale, seeing the danger, moved with lightning speed, throwing himself in front of her. The bolt struck him, lodging deep in his shoulder. A guttural cry of pain escaped him as he stumbled, his powerful form momentarily weakened. "No!" Alara screamed, her magic erupting in a violent surge of raw power. She unleashed a torrent of earth and wind, sending the remaining hunters scattering, their leader fleeing in terror. She rushed to Kale, her hands trembling as she knelt beside him, her heart tearing at the sight of his wound. The poison, she knew, was potent. His fur was matted with blood, his breath coming in ragged gasps. "Kale," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. "My love, don't leave me." He looked at her, his amber eyes clouded with pain, but still holding that fierce, unwavering love. "Ilara," he rasped, his voice weak. "You are strong. You are my queen." He reached out, his paw brushing her cheek, a final tender gesture. She pressed her face against his, her tears soaking into his dark fur. She would not let him die. Not now. Not after everything. Her magic, once a timid whisper, now roared to life, a desperate plea to the ancient spirits of the forest, to the earth itself. She channeled all her love, all her strength, all her being into her hands, placing them over his wound. A shimmering green light emanated from her hands, pulsing with life, with healing energy. She felt the poison drawing out, the torn flesh knitting itself back together, the life force returning to his powerful body. It was an agonizing process, draining her completely, but she didn't stop. She wouldn't. She poured every ounce of her essence into him, her breath coming in ragged gasps, her vision blurring at the edges. She was a conduit, a vessel for the ancient magic of the earth, a force of life, a force of love. The green light pulsed brighter, stronger, until, with a final surge, it faded, leaving her weak and trembling. But Kale's wound was gone. He was whole. He shifted slowly, painfully back into his human form, his body still weak, but healing rapidly. He looked at her, his eyes wide with awe, with a profound gratitude. "Ilara," he whispered, his voice stronger now, filled with emotion. "You saved me. You truly are a gift." He pulled her into his arms, holding her close, his warmth enveloping her, a silent promise of forever. She leaned into him, utterly exhausted, but filled with a joy so profound it brought fresh tears to her eyes. The forest, silent witness to their struggle, seemed to sigh in relief, its ancient trees rustling gently, a silent blessing on their bond. The incident with the hunters solidified their bond, forging it into an unbreakable link. Kale, fully recovered, was more protective than ever, but his protectiveness was tempered by a deep respect for Ilara's strength and power. She had proven herself not just as his mate, but as his equal, a formidable force in her own right. The pack, having witnessed her magic in action, her unwavering courage in defending their alpha, welcomed her with open arms. They saw not a witch, but their Luna, a powerful healer, a guardian of their lands. Ilara, once an outcast, now found herself at the heart of a loving, accepting family, a community that celebrated her unique gifts. She thrived in her new role, her magic growing stronger, more refined. She healed the sick, nurtured the land, and brought a gentle wisdom to the pack's decisions. Kale, for his part, learned to lean on her, to trust her judgment, to share the burden of leadership. Their love was a constant source of strength, a beacon that guided them through every challenge. He was her hidden protector, her powerful guardian, and she was his vulnerable outcast, transformed into his fierce queen. Their story was a testament to the transformative power of love, a tale of rejection turned into acceptance, of fear conquered by courage, of two souls destined to find each other and create a haven in a world that once sought to destroy them. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves turned to fiery hues of red and gold, Kale led Ilara to a hidden waterfall, its waters cascading into a crystal-clear pool. The air was filled with the scent of damp earth and pine, and the soft murmur of the falling water. He turned to her, his amber eyes shining with a profound love. "Ilara," he began, his voice deep and resonant, "you have brought light into my life, healing to my heart, and strength to my pack. You are my mate, my Luna, my everything." He knelt before her, pulling out a simple, elegant ring carved from ancient wood, inlaid with a single shimmering emerald. "Will you be mine, forever and always? Will you be my queen, in spirit and in name?" Tears welled in Ilara's eyes, tears of joy, of overwhelming love. "Yes," she whispered, her voice choked with emotion. "1,000 times, yes." He slipped the ring onto her finger, the wood warm against her skin, the emerald glowing with a soft inner light. He rose, pulling her into a tender embrace, their lips meeting in a kiss that sealed their vows, a promise whispered by the wind, witnessed by the ancient trees, blessed by the heart of the forest. They stood there, enveloped in each other's arms, two souls entwined, their love a powerful force that transcended all boundaries, all fears. Their life together was a tapestry woven with threads of love, laughter, and unwavering devotion. They ruled the Blackwood Pack with wisdom and compassion, their combined strengths creating a haven for all who sought refuge. Ilara, the once hunted witch, became a legend, her magic a source of wonder and healing, her spirit a beacon of hope. Kale, the formidable Alpha King, found true happiness and completeness in her embrace, his heart filled with a love that knew no bounds. Their children, born with the strength of their father and the magic of their mother, were a testament to their enduring love, their legacy a promise of a future where fear gave way to acceptance, and where love always found a way. The forest, their silent sanctuary, continued to thrive under their care, a living testament to the powerful, transformative love that blossomed within its ancient heart. Their story became a whispered tale, a legend passed down through generations, a reminder that even in the darkest of times, true love, like the deepest roots of the forest, could always find a way to flourish, to heal, to conquer all. And so, the woman who ran from the hunters found her weapon in the Alpha King, and in doing so, found her home, her love, her destiny.